The night always holds secrets unseen by the eye. Behind the darkness, there are whispers that not everyone can hear, footsteps that shouldn't exist, and shadows that move on their own in the corner of the room. This story isn't just a tale to scare you, it's something that may have happened, or could be happening right now, closer than you think. Listen carefully, and make sure you're not alone while hearing it. My name is Bayu, 27 years old, an avid hiker who has explored many mountains in different countries. I'm not a professional mountaineer, but my friends and I always seek challenges in places that few have ventured into. Our team consists of 4 people. Raka, 29, my best friend since college. He's the most ambitious hiker among us, no terrain is too tough for him. Edo, 26, the most easygoing person in our group. He's not the strongest physically, but he always keeps the mood light. Dini, 25, the only woman in our team. She's tough and never backs down from a challenge. We had climbed many mountains in Indonesia, but this time, we wanted something different, an overseas hike. After some research, we decided on Mount Kurokame, a mountain in Japan known for its abandoned trail, which had been closed due to numerous cases of missing hikers. We didn't believe in superstitions. To us, every mountain had its own dangers. If people went missing, they were probably just lost or unprepared. That's what we thought until we arrived at the foot of Mount Kurokame. We arrived at Kamigara, a small village at the base of the mountain. From the moment we stepped in, something felt off. Unlike other mountain villages we had visited, there were no friendly smiles or welcoming gestures. As soon as we got off the small bus that brought us here, people started staring. Not out of curiosity, but fear. "Are you here to climb Mount Kurokame?" an old man at a small shop asked. "Yes, sir. We have the necessary permits," Raka replied casually. The old man looked at each of us, then spoke slowly. "Take the official trail. Never take the old trail. Many have gone, and never returned." We exchanged glances and nodded. We didn't want to argue, so we simply bought our supplies and headed to our lodge. Yet, as we walked through the village, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The villagers avoided making eye contact with us, as if we were walking toward our own doom. That night, the owner of the lodge, Takeshi-san, visited our room. He was a middle-aged man with a serious expression. "You're really planning to climb Mount Kurokame?" he asked. We nodded. "I heard you're interested in the old trail." We exchanged glances. News spread fast in this village. "The old trail is more challenging," Raka said. "We want to try something that not many people have hiked." Takeshi-san let out a long sigh. "Challenging?" He looked at us with an unsettling gaze. "On that trail, you're not the only ones walking." A chill ran down my spine. "I'm serious," he continued. "That trail has been closed for more than 10 years. Too many people have disappeared. And those who came back," he hesitated before finishing, "they were never the same again." I swallowed hard. "You can still change your mind," he said, standing up. Before leaving, he added, "If you hear someone calling your name, do not look back." The door closed, leaving the room in silence. Edo chuckled. "Damn, that was dramatic." Dini said nothing. She looked uneasy. Raka smirked. "We're still going tomorrow." The next morning, we started our hike. At first, we followed the official trail. It was well maintained, with clear markers and signs along the way. But after a few hours, we saw an old wooden sign at a fork in the trail. The letters were faded, but still legible. "Do not enter. Trail closed." Raka pointed at it. "This is it." I sighed. "Are we really doing this?" Edo shrugged. "We came all this way. No turning back now." Dini hesitated but eventually followed. We stepped past the weathered sign and entered the forbidden trail. Immediately, the atmosphere changed. The path was narrower, overgrown with wild vegetation. It felt abandoned. There were no sounds of birds or insects like on the main trail. Just the sound of our footsteps. And maybe, something else. About an hour into the old trail, we stumbled upon something strange. A deserted campsite. There were a few torn tents, rusted cooking equipment, and backpacks that looked like they had been left behind in a hurry. I crouched down and opened one of the bags. Everything was still inside: clothes, a flashlight, personal belongings. It was as if the owner had just vanished without taking anything. Who would leave all this behind? Dini asked, her voice quiet. Raka examined the area. Maybe old hikers who got lost. But if they were lost, Edo pointed at a neatly rolled up sleeping bag, why didn't they take their stuff with them? I looked around and felt a strange sensation creeping up my spine. Like we were being watched. And then I saw it. Behind the trees, about 10 meters away, something was standing still. Its silhouette was faint, partially hidden by the shadows of the forest. But I could see it clearly. Someone, or something, was watching us from behind a tree. I swallowed hard and slowly took a step back. I blinked. It was gone. But one thing was certain. We were not alone on this mountain. I didn't say anything to the others about what I saw. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just a shadow, a trick of the light. But something didn't feel right. As we continued hiking, the path became more rugged. Thick fog began rolling in, making it harder to see ahead. The trees around us felt taller, denser, as if they were closing in. Then, we heard it. A faint, distant whisper. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the rustling of leaves. It was a voice. Did you hear that? Dini whispered. Raka shook his head. Probably just the wind. Edo turned to me. You heard it too, right? I nodded slowly. It wasn't loud, but it was distinct, like someone speaking just beyond our range of hearing. We kept walking, trying to ignore it. But the deeper we went, the more wrong the forest felt. And then, the whisper came again. Clearer this time. And it called my name. Bayu. I froze. My heart pounded in my chest. It sounded so close, as if someone was right behind me. But when I turned around, nothing. The trail behind us was empty, swallowed by fog. I clenched my fists. I remembered Takeshi-san's warning. If you hear someone calling your name, do not look back. And I had just broken that rule. I forced myself to keep moving, trying to shake off the unease. But the feeling of being watched wouldn't go away. Edo suddenly stopped. Guys, listen. We fell silent. Then we heard it. Footsteps. Not ours. Something or someone was walking behind us. Slow, deliberate steps, crunching against the fallen leaves. But when we turned around, there was nothing there. Shit, Edo muttered. I swear I heard it. Dini hugged herself, visibly shaken. Let's keep going. I don't like this place. We picked up the pace, but the footsteps. They followed. Always just a few steps behind. Never getting closer. Never falling too far behind. As if something was walking with us. The trail took us deeper into the forest, and then, out of nowhere, we saw it. An old shrine, half buried in moss and decayed wood. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. A stone torii gate stood at the entrance, cracked and worn. Hanging from it were zigzag-shaped paper strips used in Shinto rituals. Most of them were tattered and discolored with age. This wasn't on the map, Raka muttered. Dini hesitated. I don't think we should be here. Edo, ever the curious one, stepped forward. Maybe it's some kind of forgotten site. Pretty cool, huh? I didn't think it was cool. Something about this place felt wrong. Then we noticed the statues. Small stone figures, carved to resemble human faces. Dozens of them, lined up in neat rows. But their expressions. Their mouths were open. As if they were screaming. A chill ran through me. The air here felt different, heavy, suffocating. Then, from deep within the shrine, we heard a low, guttural sound. Like a person groaning in pain. I didn't wait to find out what it was. Let's go. Now. For once, no one argued. We left the shrine behind. But as we walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something inside was watching us go. And it was not happy. The fog thickened as we hiked further. The trail was barely visible now. That's when Raka suddenly stopped. Hold up. He was staring at a tree trunk. Carved into the bark was a symbol. A circle, with 4 long lines stretching outward, like claws. What the hell is this? Edo asked. I ran my fingers over the carving. The grooves were fresh. Someone did this recently, I muttered. Dini looked around nervously. Are we sure we're the only ones on this trail? Silence. Then. Snap. A twig broke behind us. We all spun around. The trail behind us was empty. But for the first time, I was sure we were not alone. We moved faster, ignoring our burning legs and the weight of our backpacks. The whispering had stopped. The footsteps had stopped. But the feeling was stronger than ever. Something was here. Watching. Following. Waiting. Then, Edo gasped. Guys. We all turned to where he was pointing. High up in the trees, just beyond the fog. Something was hanging. A figure. Suspended from a thick branch by its arms. Its head lolled to the side, long hair covering its face. At first, I thought it was a person. But then, it moved. Its limbs twitched. Slowly, its head tilted up, revealing a face with no eyes. Just empty, dark sockets. And then, it smiled. No one moved. No one breathed. We just stared at the thing hanging in the trees. Its mouth was stretched into an unnatural grin. Not like a normal human smile, it was too wide, the corners of its lips splitting open as if its skin was being torn apart. It had no eyes. Just hollow, dark sockets, staring at us with something worse than sight. Then, its head snapped in our direction. Not turned, snapped. A sharp, bone-cracking sound echoed through the trees. Run! I shouted. No one hesitated. We bolted down the path, barely able to see through the fog. The air felt thick, as if something was trying to pull us back. And behind us, laughter. Low, wheezing, like a person struggling to breathe. But it was getting closer. We ran until our legs burned, until our breaths came in ragged gasps. The trees blurred past us, but no matter how far we went, the feeling of being chased never left. Then, suddenly, we weren't on the same path anymore. What the hell? Raka gasped, looking around. Where are we? The trail had changed. It was wider, but the trees were dead, blackened and twisted like they had been burned long ago. The air smelled of ash and decay. This isn't the way we came, Edo panted. Dini clutched my arm. Bayu, we were running straight. How did we end up here? I didn't know. But one thing was certain. The mountain was playing with us. Then, a voice. A woman's voice. Soft. Crying. Coming from deeper in the trees. No, I whispered. But Raka, always the fearless one, stepped forward. Someone might be hurt. Are you crazy? Edo hissed. No one should be here. No one. The sobbing grew louder. And then, it stopped. The forest fell into absolute silence. Even the wind disappeared. And in that silence, a whisper came. Turn around. We didn't. We knew better now. But then, from behind us, a hand touched my shoulder. I froze. The others saw it. A pale, thin hand resting on my shoulder. Fingers long, unnaturally bony, with dirt caked under the nails. The touch was ice cold. I didn't dare turn. Raka's eyes widened. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Edo's face was pale. Dini was trembling. Then, the grip tightened. Something pressed close to my ear. A breath. A voice. "Why did you leave me?" I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. Then, the hand jerked me backward. I fell hard, hitting the ground. The others gasped. "Bayu." Dini grabbed my arm and pulled me up. I turned. Nothing. No one was there. But on the ground where I had fallen, there was a footprint. Not ours. And it was facing the wrong way. We didn't talk. We just ran. The trail was different, shifting like a labyrinth. Every tree looked the same, every shadow stretched too long. Then, Edo stopped. His face was twisted in confusion. "Guys, listen." We all fell silent. Footsteps. But this time, they weren't behind us. They were coming from all around us. Soft at first, then growing louder, shuffling, dragging sounds, like dozens of feet moving through the dirt. Dini clutched my hand, her fingers digging into my skin. Raka turned in circles. "I can't wear." The footsteps were closing in. Then, one by one, they stopped. The silence was even worse. Because now, we knew. They were right next to us. We couldn't see them. But they were there. Standing in the fog. Waiting. Watching. Then, something breathed into my ear. I sprinted. We didn't stop running until the trail suddenly opened into a clearing. And in the middle of it, a torii gate. Not like the one we saw before. This one was old, massive, and covered in deep scratches. Something had clawed at the wood violently, desperately. A shrine stood just beyond it, half collapsed, surrounded by tall grass and ancient stone markers. And standing in front of the shrine, a woman. Dressed in a white kimono, her long black hair covering her face. She was standing perfectly still. Not moving. Not breathing. We all stopped, panting, staring at her. Raka whispered, "What do we do?" Then, slowly, the woman began to lift her head. Her hair parted, revealing not a face. Just a black void, a gaping hole where her face should be. And then, she screamed. The sound wasn't human. It was a howl, a wail, a chorus of tortured voices. The ground shook. The torii gate split in half. And suddenly, everything went dark. Everything went black. For a moment, I felt like I was floating. Or maybe falling. The scream still echoed in my ears. It wasn't just sound, it was inside my head, rattling my bones, shaking my very soul. Then, a single flash of light. And suddenly, I was somewhere else. I blinked, trying to adjust. I was standing in a village. But it wasn't normal. The houses were old, decayed, and wrong. The walls seemed to pulse as if they were breathing. The windows were dark, but I could feel something watching from within. The air smelled like blood and rot. I turned, and my stomach twisted. The others were gone. I was alone. Then I heard it. A soft humming. A woman's voice, coming from behind one of the houses. I didn't want to look. But my feet moved on their own. As I turned the corner, a pale face emerged from the darkness, inches from mine. Smiling. I screamed. And everything snapped back. I hit the ground hard, gasping for breath. My vision swam as I tried to get my bearings. The torii gate was gone. The shrine was gone. The clearing was gone. Instead, I was lying on the forest floor. But something was wrong. It was too quiet. "Guys." My voice barely rose above a whisper. No answer. I scrambled to my feet. The fog was thicker than ever, swirling unnaturally around me. Then, a voice, "Edo." "Bayu." His voice sounded far away. I turned, Heart pounding. There just beyond the mist I saw his silhouette. I ran toward him. Edo. Where are the others? But as I got closer, something felt off. His stance. The way he was standing too still. Then he whispered, "Help me." And his face melted away. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a root. The figure in front of me, it wasn't Edo. It looked like him. Same height, same clothes. But its face was gone. Just smooth, pale skin where eyes, nose, and a mouth should be. It tilted its head. Then it twitched. Its body convulsed unnaturally, limbs bending in ways that shouldn't be possible. Then more voices. Rika's voice. Dini's voice. Calling my name. From all directions. Shapes emerged from the fog. All of them looked like my friends. All of them had no faces. Then they moved. I ran. Branches tore at my clothes, the fog swallowing everything behind me. I could hear them running too, their movements jerky and unnatural. I had no idea where I was going. Then, out of nowhere, I stumbled into another shrine. But this one was destroyed. The torii gate was shattered, the shrine itself burned down to the foundation. In the center stood a single stone statue, half buried in the dirt. A monk. His hands were pressed together in a prayer pose. But his face was scratched out. Then, behind me, the whispers started again. I turned slowly. The faceless things were standing at the edge of the clearing. Still. Watching. Then. The statue cracked. A deep, guttural growl rose from within the shrine. And something began to crawl out. The ground split open. Long, thin fingers clawed their way out of the earth. The thing that emerged was not human. Its limbs were stretched unnaturally long, its skin gray and sagging. Its head hung at an angle, and its mouth, oh God, its mouth. It was too wide. Too full of teeth. It let out a sound, a laugh, but it was broken, gurgling, like something that had forgotten how to be human. Then, it spoke. "Why did you come here?" The faceless things in the fog began to move forward. I was trapped. And I knew. This was not just a mountain. This was a graveyard. And we had disturbed something that should never have been woken up. I couldn't move. The thing beneath the shrine crawled closer, its bones cracking with each movement. The faceless figures in the fog watched, their heads tilting in unnatural sync. My legs felt frozen. My mind screamed run, but my body wouldn't listen. Then, a hand grabbed me from behind. "Bayu. Move." It was Raka. I snapped out of my trance just as the thing's hand lashed out, barely missing my face. We ran. I could hear it behind us, its limbs scraping against the dirt, its breath a wet, gurgling hiss. And worse. The whispers started again. Not just one voice. Hundreds. Some were sobbing. Some were laughing. Others just repeated our names over and over. I turned to Raka. "Where are the others?" His face was pale. "I don't know." Then, a whisper in my ear too close. "You will never leave." I turned. And something lunged at me. I hit the ground, hard. The thing missed barely. Raka yanked me to my feet, and we kept running. The forest twisted around us, the trees warping into unfamiliar shapes. Then, suddenly, the trees ended. We burst out into a village. But it wasn't normal. The houses were ancient, made of wood and stone, but they looked abandoned for centuries. The air was thick with the smell of mold, dust, and something rotten. And yet, the lamps were still lit. A soft, yellow glow flickered from inside the houses. "Bayu," Raka whispered. I followed his gaze. The doors were open. And standing inside each house silhouettes. Not moving. Just watching us. We backed away. The village was too quiet. Too wrong. "Maybe someone lives here," Raka whispered. "Maybe." Then, from one of the houses, a child stepped out. A little girl, wearing a white yukata, her long black hair covering her face. She was holding something in her hands. A doll. Old, dirty, with stitched eyes and a torn mouth. She lifted it up slowly. Then, in a small, trembling voice, she whispered, "She's coming." Then, the lamps inside the houses went out. One by one. And the shadows in the houses began to move. We ran. But the moment we turned, the ground shifted. The village wasn't behind us anymore. The houses had moved, twisting into a circle around us. Doors creaked open. The shadows inside stepped out. Tall, thin figures, their faces hidden in darkness. The little girl dropped her doll. Then, the figures started walking toward us. Not fast. Slow. Deliberate. Their footsteps made no sound. But the wood creaked beneath them. A dry, brittle, unnatural creaking. Like bones breaking. Then, one of them spoke. But the voice. It came from all of them at once. "You shouldn't be here." Then, the little girl looked up. And her face wasn't human. Her face. It was empty. Like a mask made of porcelain, smooth and featureless. But then, a crack formed. Right where her mouth should be. And slowly, it split open. A mouth too wide, too dark. And from deep inside, a hand reached out. Not hers. Something else's. Something inside her. The figures around us stopped moving. They waited. Then, the little girl raised her hand. And the entire village collapsed into darkness. Everything vanished. The village, the figures, the sky gone. I was falling. Not through air, but through something thick and cold, like sinking into an endless, bottomless sea. I tried to scream, but my voice was swallowed by the darkness. And then, I landed. Not hard. Not soft. Just, landed. The ground beneath me felt like stone, but it pulsed like living flesh. I pushed myself up, my hands trembling. Then I saw him. Raka. Lying a few meters away, motionless. Raka. I crawled toward him, shaking his shoulder. He didn't move. Then, just as I was about to check his pulse, his eyes snapped open. And they were black. I staggered back. Raka. My voice shook. He stared at me, unblinking. His pupils were gone, swallowed by the darkness in his eyes. Then, slowly, his lips parted. And he whispered. But the words weren't his. They were overlapping voices, speaking at the same time. Some deep. Some high-pitched. Some not even human. "She is waiting. She is waiting. She is WA." I slapped him. Hard. Raka gasped, his eyes suddenly normal again. He coughed violently, shaking as if he had just woken from a nightmare. Then, voice hoarse, he asked, "Where the hell are we?" I didn't know. But something was watching us. And it was getting closer. We were inside a tunnel. A long, narrow corridor made of rough stone. Except the walls were covered in eyes. Not paintings. Not carvings. Real, living eyes. Blinking. Watching. The air was damp, thick with the scent of earth and decay. The ceiling above us was low, forcing us to crouch as we moved forward. There was no other way out. We had to keep going. As we crawled deeper into the passage, the eyes started moving. Not just blinking. They shifted positions. Sliding across the walls like leeches. Then, suddenly, a hand shot out from the wall, grabbing my ankle. I kicked. Hard. The hand was cold, slimy, too long. It clung to me, pulling. I screamed as another hand emerged, grabbing my wrist. Then dozens of them. They spilled from the walls, writhing, grasping, pulling us deeper. Raka grabbed me. Go. I yanked free, scrambling forward. The tunnel was shrinking, closing in on us. Then, ahead. A door. Old, wooden, with something carved on it. A woman's face, her mouth stitched shut. But we had no choice. Raka shoved the door open. And we fell through. We crashed onto a wooden floor. The door slammed shut behind us. For a moment, we just lay there, gasping. Then we heard breathing. Slow. Deep. Behind us. We turned. The room was small, candle-lit, filled with old furniture. And in the center, a woman. Dressed in a tattered kimono, her face pale and gaunt. Her lips were stitched shut, just like the carving on the door. But she was breathing. Then, she raised her hand, pointed directly at me. And in my head, I heard a voice. You must not have come here. Then, suddenly, the stitches on her mouth started to unravel. The stitches unraveled. One by one, they snapped open, revealing a mouth that was too wide. Her lips peeled apart like rotting fabric. And then, she screamed. Not just a scream, a wail. A sound so inhuman it made my skull feel like it was splitting open. I collapsed, my hands covering my ears. My vision blurred. My body felt like it was being pulled apart. Beside me, Raka clawed at his head, his mouth open in a silent scream. The room shook. The walls cracked. And the woman kept screaming. Then, the candlelight flickered. The shadows in the room moved. And from the darkness, something crawled out. It was wrong. A shape that didn't make sense. Too many limbs. Too many eyes. It moved like it was breaking itself apart and putting itself back together every time it shifted. And it was coming toward us. The woman stopped screaming. Her mouth still hung open, her body frozen like a lifeless puppet. But the thing. It kept coming. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, trapped in invisible chains. Then, Raka grabbed me. We need to run. We stumbled toward the only exit, a door at the far end of the room. I yanked it open. And we fell through. We landed in a hallway. It stretched endlessly in both directions, dimly lit by flickering lanterns. The walls were covered in names. Thousands. Carved into the wood. Some were fresh, others faded, almost erased. And the worst part. Some of them had scratch marks over them, as if someone had tried to claw them off the wall. Raka's voice was hoarse. What is this place? I shook my head. I don't know. Then, a whisper. Soft. Almost gentle. Your names will be here soon. We turned. And the woman with the unraveling mouth was standing at the entrance. Watching. Waiting. And then, she smiled. We ran. Down the endless hallway, passing name after name, thousands of them. The further we went, the more the air felt thick, suffocating. Then, I saw it. And my body went cold. A name, freshly carved into the wood. Bayu. My own name. Right beneath it. Raka. I turned to him, my voice trembling. It's our names. His face was pale. We're not supposed to be here. Then, the lanterns started going out. One. By one. And something started running toward us from the darkness. Fast. The thing was almost here. Its footsteps weren't normal. They echoed twice, one in the real world, one in my mind. We had to hide. I yanked Raka toward the nearest door. Old. Wooden. Rotting. I didn't care. I pushed it open. And on the other side, there was no room. No walls. No floor. Just void. A black abyss that stretched forever. Then, the whisper came again, but this time, right behind me. Jump. Then, something shoved me forward. And I fell into the darkness. I was falling. Endlessly. The air around me was thick, like sinking into something between water and smoke. My body didn't feel real anymore, like I was dissolving into the darkness. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then, a hand grabbed my wrist. I looked up. It was Raka. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror, but he was holding onto me. Bayu. His voice echoed strangely, like it existed in multiple places at once. Above us, the door we fell through was gone. No light. No escape. Only the abyss. And then, I heard it. A voice, deep and ancient. You were never supposed to leave. And something started pulling me downward. The darkness was alive. Whispers surrounded us, soft at first, then growing louder. Not one voice. Hundreds. Thousands. Crying. Pleading. Screaming. I felt hands brushing against me, grasping at my clothes, my skin. Then, I saw them. Faces. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Trapped in the void. They were watching me. Some had their mouths stitched shut. Some had no eyes. One of them looked like me. I tried to pull away, but the hands tightened. Then, a face pushed close to mine, lips inches from my ear. And it whispered, "Say your name, and you will stay." I froze. My name. That was how they trap people here. The names carved into the hallway, they weren't just markings. They were bindings. I clenched my jaw, refusing to speak. But Raka. His lips were parting. I saw his mouth forming the first syllable of his name. I slapped him. Hard. His eyes snapped back into focus. "Don't say it!" I shouted. He gasped, realization hitting him. He shook his head violently. The whispers turned into screams. The hands dug into my skin. And then, the darkness ripped apart. And we were falling again. We hit water. Ice cold, black as ink. I gasped for air, my body numb from the cold. Raka surfaced beside me, coughing. Where the hell are we?" I looked around. A lake. Surrounded by towering, skeletal trees. No wind. No sky. No sound. And then, the water moved. Not waves. Not ripples. Something was rising. A shape. Tall. Thin. Wrong. It had no face. Just a smooth, featureless head. But I knew it was looking at us. Then, it raised its hand. And the water around us turned red. The water wasn't water anymore. It was blood. Thick. Heavy. Raka and I struggled, trying to stay afloat, but the liquid was pulling us down. The faceless figure stood at the edge of the lake, watching. And then, from beneath us, hands. Hundreds of them. Rising from the depths, grasping, pulling, dragging. Raka screamed. I kicked, fought, clawed at the surface. But the blood was swallowing us whole. The last thing I saw before I went under. The faceless figure tilting its head. And in my head, I heard its voice. "Now you are ours." Then, darkness. I was sinking. The blood was thick, suffocating. It filled my lungs, burning like fire. I kicked, I struggled, but the hands wouldn't let go. They dragged me deeper. The surface grew dimmer, further away. I saw shapes moving around me. Shadowy figures with hollow eyes. They weren't just trying to pull me under. They were whispering. And then, a face floated in front of me. My own face. Rotting. Decayed. It smiled. Then, its lips moved. And though I couldn't hear the words, I knew what it was saying. "You're already dead." No. I wasn't dead. Not yet. I forced my body to move, even though it felt like it was tearing apart. The whispers grew louder. I saw Raka sinking too, his body limp. His eyes were closed. No, no, no. I reached for him, my fingers barely brushing against his arm. But the hands pulled him deeper. He was disappearing. I screamed. And then a light pierced through the darkness. Not white. Blue. Cold, unnatural. Glowing from the depths. And then the hands let go. And we were falling again. We landed on solid ground. Not water. Not blood. Ice. I gasped for air, my body trembling from the cold. Raka lay beside me, motionless. Raka. I shook him. No response. I pressed my fingers against his neck, he still had a pulse. I sighed in relief. Then I looked around. A forest. But the trees were wrong. Tall, black, covered in frost. The sky above us was empty, no stars, no moon, just endless black. And the silence. Too perfect. Then something moved between the trees. A figure. Watching. Waiting. And then it took a step toward us. She wasn't walking. She was floating. Her feet didn't touch the ground. Dressed in a long, tattered white robe, her hair falling over her face. But the worst part, she was smiling. Wide. Too wide. A grin that stretched too far, exposing teeth that were too sharp. I tried to move but my legs wouldn't obey. Raka groaned beside me, finally waking up. What? I didn't answer. Because the woman was getting closer. And then she spoke. But her mouth didn't move. Her voice was inside my head. You are not supposed to be here. Then she screamed. The scream shattered the silence. The air rippled, twisted, cracked. The trees bent and snapped like invisible hands were crushing them. And then a gate appeared behind the woman. Tall. Ancient. Covered in symbols I couldn't understand. It was glowing. The woman stopped. Her head tilted unnaturally far, her smile still stretched wide. Then she lifted a hand and pointed at us. And the gate creaked open. Beyond it, I saw nothing. Just endless, consuming darkness. And then a hand, pale and skeletal, reached out from the void. Reaching for us. That hand. Thin, skeletal, fingers long, and twisted like broken branches. It reached for us from the blackness beyond the gate. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to move, run, but my body wouldn't obey. The woman's smile widened. Her eyes, black pits of endless hunger, locked onto mine. Then the hand twitched. And suddenly it grabbed Raka's ankle. Raka. He screamed as the hand yanked him toward the gate. His fingers clawed at the ice, trying to stop himself. I lunged, grabbing his arm. The force was unnatural. It wasn't just pulling him. It was trying to erase him. His skin faded where the fingers touched, like he was being unwritten. Raka's eyes met mine, pure terror. Then the woman laughed. A low, guttural sound that made my bones feel like they were splintering. One must stay. Her words hung in the air. Like a command. Like a law of this place. One of us had to stay. The whispers returned, slithering into my mind. Choose. 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 No. I tightened my grip on Raka. Don't let go. I shouted. The gate shuddered, the darkness behind it growing, swallowing the world. The woman's smile disappeared. Her head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. Then she lunged. She moved too fast. 1 second she was by the gate. The next, her face was inches from mine. Her breath was cold. Rotten. I couldn't move. Her lips parted. You break the rules. Then she screamed. A force hit my chest, sending me flying backward. I crashed into the ice, the world spinning. Through blurred vision, I saw Raka still struggling. The hand tightened. He was slipping away. I had seconds. And then I made a decision. My hand brushed against something cold. Metal. I looked down, a knife. Not mine. I didn't know where it came from. But there was no time to think. I grabbed it. And without hesitating, I stabbed the hand. The blade sank deep. The thing shrieked. The fingers unclenched. Raka jerked free. The woman screamed in fury. The gate began to crack. And then everything collapsed. The world cracked apart. The gate collapsed, the woman's scream echoed, and the frozen forest shattered like glass. Raka and I fell. Not onto solid ground, into nothingness. The air turned thick, suffocating. I couldn't see. Couldn't breathe. It felt like we were being unraveled, piece by piece. And then I woke up. I gasped, shooting up from the ground. Wooden walls. A dim lantern flickering in the corner. The air smelled of mold and damp earth. The cabin. The same cabin we had found before the nightmare began. Raka lay beside me, still unconscious. For a moment, I thought, had it all been a dream? Then I saw my hand, still clutching the knife. Its blade stained black. A noise. Raka groaned, waking up. I let out a breath. Raka. We're. Then I froze. Something was wrong. His eyes. They weren't brown anymore. They were black. Bayu, his voice was hoarse. Unnatural. My pulse spiked. He touched his arm where the hand had grabbed him. The skin was charred, veined with dark cracks. Like something had seeped into him. Then he whispered. It's still inside me. The cabin creaked. The lantern flickered. Shadows shifted in the corners. Then a whisper. Not from Raka. Not from me. From the walls. I turned slowly. The wood was moving. Dark shapes crawled beneath the surface, like something was trapped inside. And then the cabin door slammed shut. I ran to the door, locked. The windows nailed shut. The whispers grew louder. Then a voice. Not a whisper. Something deep. Hollow. Ancient. You took what is ours. Raka shook violently. His veins darkened, his fingers twitched. I grabbed him. Stay with me. We'll find a way out. Then the walls cracked open. And hands, pale, twisted, inhuman, began reaching through. We were trapped. And they were coming for us. The walls groaned, splitting open like a rotten carcass. More hands pushed through, grasping, clawing. The whispers became screams. Raka's breath hitched, his hands trembling. Bayu. I can hear them inside me. His voice, not his own. Something was taking over. I grabbed his wrist. No. We're getting out. The knife was still in my hand. If the gate could be destroyed, maybe this place could too. But then the walls moved. And I realized the cabin was alive. A voice rippled through the air. Deep. Hollow. Final. One must stay. The same words from the woman at the gate. A cold realization hit me. This wasn't about escape. This was about sacrifice. Raka clutched his chest, pain etched on his face. He looked at me, eyes still dark, voice weak. Bayu, if I stay, will you make it out? I shook my head. No. We both leave. The voice laughed. And the walls collapsed inward. There was no time left. The hands were reaching for us. Raka's skin was cracking, his veins blackened like roots burrowing deep. I knew he wouldn't last. I had to choose. I gritted my teeth and made my move. I grabbed the knife and I stabbed the floor. The wood screamed. A shock wave ripped through the room. The hands recoiled, the walls twisted in agony. The cabin was breaking. And then we fell. I gasped awake. The air was cold, crisp, real. The mountain. The sun was rising. I turned. Raka lay beside me. His eyes normal. His skin healed. The mark was gone. Had it worked? Had we escaped? But then I saw something. The knife. Still beside me. And its blade. Still stained black. We never spoke about it. Not to anyone. We told people we got lost, that the weather turned bad, that we barely made it back. But we knew. We knew what really happened. And deep down, I knew something else. We never truly left. Because sometimes, when I wake up at night, I still hear the whispers. And somewhere, in the depths of my mind, a voice laughs. Thank you for listening to this story. But remember, never assume this is just a story. Who knows, something might be listening along with you right now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. But be careful, maybe after this, something else has subscribed behind you. See you in the next tale, and may your night remain peaceful, if it can.